Today I received the Monster Hunter Rise Edition Pro Controller. This controller has a nice cool gold dragon on the face of it. So today I'm going to unbox it, take a look inside, see if anything's changed. So let's get started. So let's start unboxing this. First, you've got tape on the sides of the top ledge of the box that you have to cut off. And you can see the back of it here. It's got your typical Pro Controller information. Not really anything new on that compared to other boxes. In front of it, you got the nice picture of the controller with the dragon. You got a little cardboard that holds the top end, and you've got this foam around the controller, which I like. That keeps it from getting banged up. Then you've got your typical USB-C cable in there for charging. It's a nice branded Nintendo cable, so if you like that, you've got another one in your storage. So here it is. That dragon just shines. It's really nice. And of course, you've got this plastic covering the one glossy part of the controller that's going to get scratched up anyways. So, buttons feel pretty much the same as other buttons. The log stick feels the same. Fits in the hands the same. Not much of a difference in the feeling. So let's take this thing apart. I've already removed these first two screws on the end here. They are really small and very difficult to get out, so make sure you have the right size screwdriver for that job. Now there's 4 silver screws here that'll take off this little back plate. As I'm doing this, you can see there's 3 total screw types in this whole controller. The first one is the first 2 that I showed you at the beginning, the black ones. And then the second one, in the middle here, are these silver ones come out this back plate. And then on the far right is the last set that are used for all the rest of the internals of the controller. So I'm going to start working on the next set of screws. There's actually 2 screws that you can take off before you have to take off the plastic back. Started working on those first before taking that off. All of these screws are Phillips head screws, so you can pretty much do this with one screwdriver. I'd probably get a little bit bigger one than what you use on the ends of the handles. But as you can see, this black plastic piece just comes right off. It's kind of a translucent piece, the Nintendo logo. Now the battery comes out too at this point. This is the same battery they've used in all of them. It's the same battery that's in the 3DS too. So this is fairly easy if you need to just change the battery. You only have to take out the end screws and those first 4 screws to get the plastic off. So there's some more screws here. I've got them circled in yellow. This is all the screws that you need to take off in order to get this back piece of plastic off of the system. As you can see, they're all black screws. And from here on out, all the screws are the same screw type, so you keep them all in the same pile. You don't really need to worry about keeping them sorted out. Like I said, there's just 3 different screw types, so that makes it fairly easy to put back together. You may want to put them in different piles to remember what order you took them out and what order they go back in. So it's always a good best practice when you're taking apart something like this. Look through around and find the rest of the screws here. There's some down at the bottom. Now the hard part here was trying to figure out how do you get this thing apart. It's been a while since I took one apart. Now there were a couple more screws that I didn't take out in the video. I just skipped over that. But this point is when I realized, oh yeah, this thing is glued together at the bottom. And there's like an adhesive that's on the motor that holds this together at the bottom. Once you break that, it comes apart pretty quickly, pretty easily. There's a little ribbon here that you gotta flip this little flap up, and that'll get that ribbon out. It'll release real easily. And then you've got the controller in 2 different pieces. You've got the lower section with the analog sticks. That's the same board that's been in all the rest of them. Looks like the same analog sticks as well. And then you have the top piece where all your digital buttons are, the D-pad, your AV, shoulder buttons, plus, minus, all those different buttons on this part. Now there's screws holding this board in. First you need to remove this little cable here. Now this cable, if you go to put it back together, you'll want a set of tweezers to slide that thing back in. It won't slide in directly with just your fingers unless you've got really tiny hands that you can grip that thing with, because I could not. So you just go through and take off each of these screws, and as you're taking them off, you'll notice there's some offsets. So when you put this thing back together, there are holes here that screws will go in, but they're really not designed to. So make sure when you put this back together, you're putting the number of screws in the right position. I put it together one time and put too many screws in the bottom and got down to the very end, and I was short a screw. So make sure you pay attention to all that. Of course, the top piece that has the shoulder buttons just comes right off. It's a very simple design. I find it a lot easier to get into than compared to, say, the Xbox One controller. And once you get this apart, you've got the board here where your D-pad and shoulder button or face buttons are. There's a little membrane that came off, it was stuck. I tried to put it back in to make sure I remembered where it went. But this board's pretty much the same as all the other boards. Again, nothing new. So really looking on the inside of this, nothing has changed. This looks like the same internals as all the rest of the Pro controllers. The D-pad still has little issues with not picking up correctly, where you press maybe left and you'll get an up in there. The analog sticks all feel the same. Well, that's going to be it for this video. As this puts back together, I just want to say there's a couple things I would have liked to have seen improved, especially on the D-pad. I would have loved to have seen a bump in the center to be a little bit higher, maybe a little bit of a change on the contacts. A lot of platformers are notorious with the Pro controller. As you're trying to run to the right, you just randomly seem to jump if you suddenly go back left. So it seems to pick up some extra presses there that aren't there. But at any rate, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe. I'm still trying to crank out at least a video a week. I've got some other things coming in this week, so I might end up with 2 this week. We'll just have to see how everything falls. But thank you for watching, and be good.